Welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show, where we explore the fascinating world of real estate investing with your host, Patrick Switek. Patrick is a dynamic young entrepreneur and an accomplished real estate investor who's passionate about helping others achieve financial freedom. Each week, we sit down with some of the most inspiring individuals in the real estate industry and delve into their personal journeys, lessons learned, and secrets to their success. Let's dive into this week's episode.
Austin, welcome to the Patrick Real Estate Show, man. Austin is a friend of mine that I started in the beginning of my journey. We were both in the beginnings of our journeys, and we were both starting into basically buying properties at first, and then eventually both of us ended up in management. And I think the unique ways that we went about it, I think, is interesting. So at the same time we started, we had maybe one each like maybe one owned, and then we decided, hey, we need to get more cash flow. And we got into management. I bought a management company. You went through acquisitions and acquired everything one by one. And we just went from there. So we have a long story of that. And I'm just excited to have you on a podcast, man, just to talk shop and share with the world our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, brother, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me. I just always love the energy that you bring into the room whenever we're together, man. You're always the happiest guy in the room. So
Thank you.
not to say that lightly, but super excited to be here, break everything down, and hopefully drop a couple gold nuggets, which is what podcasts are all about at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
man.
right?
100%. So where does your story begin? Where do you come from? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it begins back in 2018. I just graduated from college, was working as a valet, and I was listening to a podcast called Bigger Pockets. I think I started learning about real estate there. 6 months later, moved to Chicago to start my job in wealth management. And it was literally only like 60, 90 days into that job where I realized, hey, look, I absolutely hate this. I hate this corporate American grind. I thought wealth management was going to be sexy, like taking clients out to dinner, wine and dining. And it honestly wasn't like that. I was pretty much like, the best way to describe it is like a retail banker for like wealthy people. Hey, like we need to do this wire, we need to like, I don't know, we need to file this return. Just lazy, boring stuff to do. And so one day I was just walking from the train to the office in the Loop, and I stopped, looked around, and everybody was doing the same thing as me. And I was just like, hey, look, if I continue doing this, I want to be like this guy over here who's 60, 65, still walking to work in the next 40 years. So that's when I dug into real estate, and like 4 months later, I ended up buying a long-term rental, house acted, moved back to Florida during COVID, and started buying short-term rentals. I think I had bought like 2 short-term rentals, and then that's when we met at SDR WealthCon. And from there, like interest rates started going up. Ended up buying one more in Fort Lauderdale, sold that one, bought one more in Tampa, still had that one. And then interest rates started going up 2022, and didn't really make sense to keep buying stuff, and I didn't really have any more cash either. So then that's when I got thrown into the co-hosting thing. I had somebody reach out to me or reach out to one of my business partners and just say, hey, look, I have this property. Would you guys manage it? Because on the back of his truck, he had like Airbnb management, even though like we didn't do any Airbnb management whatsoever. So I was just like, oh, this house is probably going to do like $90,000, like 20%. And they were like, on board with it. So that's how I got into the management
That's
game.
awesome.
Back then.
And I think I remember at that point, we were both in the same position where all of our cash went into these properties, and the market took a little bit of a dip, and it was a tough time. And we're like, crap, like we need more cash flow because this is not going to support our lifestyle, especially at the time. It was we extended ourselves with trying to scale and grow, and we had these properties that were still good. At least mine were still good. They were cash flowing, but also not as much as it was during COVID, of course. And so
Yeah,
getting into
dude.
co-hosting was the big cash flow move for both of us. So the first one you got it through a sign that you had at the back of the truck. Now,
Mhm.
I'm assuming at that point you were thinking, okay, great, you got the one there, but how did you get from one to where you're at right now?
Yeah, dude. So let's break that down. So, like I was saying before, so the guy that like I was partnering with, so I partnered with this guy who really wanted to learn how to do Airbnb, and he didn't have like, a lot of cash. So I was just like, hey, look, like I've heard about this thing called Airbnb arbitrage. You find a property that makes sense in this neighborhood, like I'll partner with you, show you how to do it, and we'll go along that way. And so that's how we started. And then he's just like a dude that will like pretty much do anything, like a jack of all trades. So he put Airbnb management on the back of his car. And when the person called us, super nice people, they have like 2 bedroom condo walking distance from the beach in Jupiter, Florida. I was just like, all right, dude, we're gonna get into this. In the beginning, like a lot of people, they think like you gotta have the whole business mapped out. Like you gotta have your taxes, you gotta have your name, like all that stuff like will come, but that's like what stops the majority of people from getting started. They focus on all the stupid BS stuff. In reality, you should be focusing on like how to actually get clients. So just to give you an idea, with this first client, like what our invoicing looked like is like all the money would go to them, and then I would send them an email at the end of the month, the 31st, and just be like, okay, this was the stay on from the 1st to the 3rd. This was the stay from the 7th through the 10th. And this is 20% of that with a $100 technology fee. You owe me $2,300. And then they would Zelle us. And that's how we got started. And then after time, I was just like, all right, like, how am I actually going to really bring on more clients? I really want to scale this company. Like, they were making us probably $1,600 a month or so, somewhere around that number, like a decent amount, all cash flow. They were paying the $100 technology fee. I was like, okay, like, how do we do this? How do we do this now? So I was like very in the trenches in the very beginning, trying to throw as many things at the wall as I could. One thing that I would do is I would cold call real estate agents and just be like, hey, look, I specialize in Airbnb management here. If you ever need any help with analyzing any numbers, like happy to come out there and provide value. That ended up being like fruitful in the long run, but that took like a lot of time to add traction. Dude, I called this one guy 2 years ago. He called me back, not even gonna lie,
Wow.
2 weeks ago. He's, hey, you still doing that Airbnb management thing? I was like, yeah, man. He's like, oh, I got this. I got 8 plots of land that these investors want to buy and they want to get into Airbnb. And I just thought of you. And that was like 2 years ago, right? So, like, those little seeds that you plant take time, but they end up blossoming. So, that was the one thing that I did. And then I would, dude, Patrick, I would literally print out these little pamphlets with a little like deck and drop them off at like brokerages and be like, hey, look, this is who I am. Please give me clients. So that worked a little bit. And then what I learned is like, dude, like you got to build your brand around your co-hosting company. And that's something that you guys have done extremely well with buying companies that have a huge brand in Joshua Tree. So I was just like, all right, how do I build my brand? So I built my brand like around like luxury, 4 bedroom pool homes like, located in South Florida. And then there's certain like SEO keywords that you can put in the front end and the back end of your website. And what happened is West Palm's like a decent sized market. It's not a huge market, but literally within 2 to 3 weeks, like I was on page one of Google at like number five. And then what happened is that I had a fill form and leads would organically find me. So like they would put their first name, the last name, address, phone number, and I always made all those mandatory, the fill forms. So as soon as that lead comes in, I can call them right away.
I think that's a big thing right
So that was
there. I
one.
do want to note because we get a lot of leads, calling them right away. You mentioned that, and I have to double down on that. I think the faster you can get to the phone to call the lead, the more likely that lead will go with you in this business, especially with the one-liner that we use. So what we do is we always call them right away or text them right away. We'll usually text them right away and put in
Mhm.
a group chat with me and Josh, my business partner, and we'll be like, hey, we saw that you filled out the form. This is Patrick. This is Josh with the Coast Company. I'd love to hop on a call whenever it's convenient for you and just leave it at that. And then we'll schedule the call and do the whole thing. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I thank you for getting back to me so quick. That was really fast or something like that. And we'll usually say you have to be in this business. It's a 24/7 business. And I think people really
Yeah, I
appreciate
like
that. They're
that.
like, yeah, you're right. You are in the management business. And that kind of like subliminally tells them like you got to be fast to respond in this business to be successful. So anybody that doesn't respond fast to them, which some people take weeks, sometimes people don't respond for days, like you never know. So that kind of gives us a leg up because then they're like, yeah, you're right. You should be fast to respond things. And these people respond really fast. So I might actually go with them over somebody else. And so small things like that, I've noticed.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a huge thing in itself. It's like a lot of people, the majority of the people that want to get in co-hosting, right? They're usually in their 30s. They have a couple kids. They have maybe one or two investment properties. They want to leave their job And they think co-hosting or management is like the gateway to do that. And they just enjoy managing their own property and they want to do it for themselves. But what they miss is the sales aspect of
Yeah.
management or the business side of things. Right? If you're not quick to reply on the phone or an inquiry, like that lead is going to go away, right? People just think about the fun side of management. That's one big thing I want to touch on. I can keep going on to finding leads, but first, what I want to touch on is if you're starting like a management company or you're starting any business, like what Patrick just said, is you need to be able to call your leads as soon as they come in, and you need to be able to have
Yes.
somewhere to track your leads. What I did is like I implemented what I learned in wealth management is like I brought in a CRM. So like anytime a lead comes in to my funnel, like I know exactly where they are in the sales cycle. Are they in the initial call? Are they reaching out? Am I reaching out to them? Or are they in the sales call? Am I pitching them? Are they on onboarding call? Are they in the negotiation call? What does that look like? As well as if Billy Joel says, "Hey, Patrick, call me back on Tuesday at 10 a.m." Like we're tracking that in the CRM. So we know exactly where Billy Joel's information is, his address, his phone number, his email, what his wife's name, like what he told us is important, what he doesn't like with his other property manager, like all that, all those details get tracked into the CRM. And I think that's critical
Yeah.
with
And I
growing any
think what's
business.
interesting is how I was dishing some of the leads that we get because we don't take on every lead, and we dish them out to people in our market. And I won't name him, but one of my friends that I dished a lead to was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, how did the lead go? Did you close them?" And he was like, "No, they didn't respond to me after the second time or something like that." And I was like, "So did you follow up with them?" And he's, "No, I never thought you had to follow up with." He's just, it didn't click for him. He was like, in his
Yeah.
line of business, he understood he's in a business where you need to have a CRM, but he didn't realize, oh, wait, I have to
Hmm.
treat this like a business. You're right. Like, I do have to have a CRM. The moment he put a CRM in place, he's like
Yeah.
on the brink of actually closing some of these leads. And so I was like, dude, exactly, like 100%. Like, these are still cold. Like, they're warm because they're interested, but they're cold in the sense that they're still going to be looking for other managers and they're going to be shopping around, and you want to get them right away to get them to sign, at least within a good timeline. That's one thing I noticed.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I couldn't have said that better myself. It's just there's people that I've followed up with over 10 times and they've closed after a year. Like you can't be you can't
Yeah,
be afraid to follow up with people or you're never going to get clients at the end of the day. The more you follow up, what's his name? Sirhan, Matt, whatever his name is from New York, selling Manhattan or whatever. He's just like my key is I have the ability to follow up with you until the day that you die, and that's what makes him so good. He doesn't care. He keep calling you until you say yes or until you're ready to
absolutely.
buy.
Uh,
So it's
Yeah.
a big thing with
And
sales.
it's just a lot of it's timing, a lot of it's where you at. I think a lot of it's pain points, things of that nature. I do have this lead right now that I know is going to make us $150,000 a year. Or sorry, not make us
So
150,000, but that's what it makes. Yeah,
that's
that's
gonna
a
be
lot.
yeah.
And I just keep following up with this lead. And I know that one day she's gonna come back and she's gonna say, I'm ready to go. She's so close. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Every time it's like an inch closer. She's like, yeah, I do need to outsource. I keep doing it myself and it's not working. I'm like, yeah. And then I mean, we followed up probably on that one 30 to 40 times, probably more, honestly. Just like, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? Hey, see, calendar's still empty.
Hmm.
Are you still open to talking to us? Hey, like just constantly. And she responds here and there. She's just so busy. And she tells us that. Like she's just really busy and this is not like a priority for her. So one day.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing, man. When it's not a priority for them, like how do you make it
Yeah.
a priority for
I don't
them?
know. $1 million
Like
question.
I think it's just like digging into their pain points,
Mm.
right? What are you not happy about? Like obviously you're not happy about something because you're talking to me. So let's like figure out
Yeah.
what that is. And then if you can make that a larger pain point to them, maybe they're more
Like,
likely to
hey,
move forward with you.
you're losing 10
You know?
grand a month. Do you want to like maybe step in and let us make that money for you? I don't know, maybe something like that. But if that money's not a pain
Yeah.
point, that's hard. That's a hard client to sell. If money's not a pain point, maintaining a
Mhm.
home is not really a pain point. It'd be nice. Now at that point, that's not a Tylenol. That's a Band-Aid problem. That's not oh, I need a Tylenol kind of problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually, and we can get into this in a second, but it's usually there's three pain points. Like their occupancy, their revenue's down is like the major one. they're having to do some of the work. Like the property manager isn't like staying in contact with the guests to the best of their ability, and it's reflected in their reviews. It's a big one I've seen. They want a more hands-on like manager that they can actually get a hold of, right? They don't want to talk to somebody in the Philippines, and
Take
maybe
home.
they want, yeah, they want somebody like maybe this is a vacation home to them, so they want somebody that's actually going to treat that as like their second home. Somebody like more boutique and hands-on. It's like the
Yeah.
things that I've seen. But yeah, dude, I think we got off track a little bit there, but I think the biggest one, so like reaching out to agents, website SEO, and the third one that I came across is one day I figured out, hey, look, like there's other property managers out there, and we've talked about this. There's huge property managers out there that just do a very bad job at what they should be doing because they've grown so large and they haven't been able to put the correct systems in place to support their growth. And just a few that we can mention right now are like Vicasa Evolve, Turnkey used to be one. Yvonne Stay is like large, but not too big. There's a few larger property managers out there, right? But the thing is like a lot of them don't really do like that good of a job, like I was saying before. So their owners are currently in pain, right? And their owners are currently in pain because of the fact that their revenue isn't being hit for the targets that they were promised, their occupancy, their revenue. The other thing is like the fact that their reviews have suffered as well because of the lack of communication that their managers provide to them. So if you look at these people, like on these websites that I just mentioned, you'll see like a 4.6, 4.7, it's like star rating. And a lot of these people don't understand. If you get below like a 4.9, usually it negatively impacts you in the algorithm for Airbnb, Verbo, whatever you want to say. So instead of being on page 1, you're on like page 10, right? So these people have no idea really what's going on with the listing, whether or not making money. So what I realize is if I can get a hold of these people and show them what they're missing out on, what they could be making for their actual property, and why their property isn't making as much money as they expect it to, they're most likely going to convert over to my property management company because I'm more of a boutique manager. So that's the approach that I took, which allowed me to take off. And I can explain it how my process
Yeah.
works to everybody.
Let's hear
That'd be
it.
helpful. Yeah, man. So pretty much what I did is I was able to find. So what I do is like I go to their website. I filter down by which properties I actually want to target. So like average nightly rate, say like 250 and above. If it's in South Florida, like 3, 4 bedrooms or bigger, pool house, like close to the beach. Put all those filters in, and then copy that URL, send it over to data engineer, then sends me back the addresses for those properties. A VA then verifies those addresses. Once those VA's addresses are verified, we then pull the like email address, phone number, first name, last name, so much data about that actual property. Once that data is back, we input that into a CRM. And then from that CRM, we send emails, make phone calls, follow-ups, everything there. And we just target those people. And like, whenever I call them, I just have a conversation with them. Be like, hey, look, like, hey, John, I think I saw you were being managed by X, Y, and Z company. I was just curious, like, how's your occupancy or revenue been? They're most likely going to be like, it's been good, it's been bad. Like, why are
Hmm.
you asking? And I'm just going to be like, hey, look, the only reason I'm asking is because I run this boutique manager in town. And so from X, Y, and Z company has called me recently and said that their occupancy has been down. So I'm just honestly trying to get a little bit of feedback to see if that's what other people that they're managing for are seeing as well. And so they're just like, yeah, it's been down for a lot. But then they're going to be like, but everything's been down since 2022. And be like, yeah, John, like you're right. Everything has been down since like 2021, 2022. But are you like doing any like revenue management strategy for the low season right now? They're going to be like, no, what's that? What do you mean? And then like I usually decrease ADR by a certain amount, but increase the minimum nightly stay for low season. So you get like more midterm stays. And then I'll just be like, all right, well, how have your like reviews been? Like, do you realize anything below like 4.9 review can get you on page 10 or page 1? And then they'll be like, no, I didn't realize that or whatever. And like I give them like a little bit of value over a 5 minute conversation on the initial call. And then what I'll do would be like, hey John, I'm sorry that you're in this situation. I really don't have that much time right now, but if it would be helpful, we can set up like a quick like 10 to 15 minute like optimization strategy call with you on like Tuesday or Wednesday later this week. Would that be helpful? And they're gonna be like, heck yeah, if I'm going to make more money, then they're willing to jump on that other call. But we're not trying to sell them on that initial call. We're just trying to add value to them. And then the second call is we want to sell them,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you
Value
know?
first, lead with that, and then people are more likely to hop on that call. And then from there, you can sell them. What's interesting is I did the same thing with Facebook groups, but at mass scale, where
Hmm.
I basically tell them, hey, listen, I know the market's tough right now. I'm doing a how to increase your revenue video, or how to buy the right property in Joshua Tree or something like that, a video like that. And I posted in the group, the Facebook group, and I had a lot of people reach out as leads from that, slash even the YouTube channel continuing to live on, where that YouTube video is gaining review or gaining views, maybe 800 to 1,000, nothing crazy, but enough where it's like all those people are like prospects for me, because why would you want to look at a video on how to
Yeah.
buy a property in Joshua Tree unless you really wanted to, right? So it's an evergreen video, and it's a great way because I'm solving one of their problems, which is, hey, how do I buy a profitable property? And then it's like the second problem is I need to run this profitable property, and that's where I come in with a solution. You see what I mean? So solving one problem, creating
Yeah,
another
100%.
problem, which is where I come in. And I think with that, I can always have dish that out to an agent, and make sure that relationship with the agent is a lot better too, because I have the lead. So when you control the lead flow, especially for people buying houses, that's great because you can always dish it out to agents as well. And people should think about not only just like relying on agents, but actually providing value to agents up front by giving them leads as well. And the only way you can do that is through effective marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's key. It's definitely key. If you can provide value to like the agents as well, like you can provide them leads for sure, but even like a
Yeah.
referral, if they send you a client, make sure you're paying them a referral fee too. And then even offer to run the analysis for people that they're working with that are looking for a short-term rental as well, because I'm sure you're going to be better at your numbers and they're
Absolutely.
better
Yeah.
at their
I
numbers.
think the valuation's a big one, like you said. So for instance, we have this client that's coming into town, a $1.5 million like limit of what they're looking to buy. So it's like a pretty big buy. And the properties they're looking at are really nice and luxury. And to be able to come in and do a call with them just to reassure them how much money their property could make is huge. They'd like to see that from valuation standpoint, just, hey, based on properties we have in our portfolio, this is what it could do. And I think that just helps them justify their investments as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Could answer
So,
that better myself.
agents, honestly, dude, right now, as we grow more and more, agents have been the best referrals for us. That's where we get the most of our business is agents and SEO. Those are our two biggest lead sources. Yes, I do go out of my way and do some targeting, like what you mentioned earlier, but it's selective on which properties are. Like if there's one property with Vacasa that I saw this one property of Vacasa. I was like, dude, this is way too nice to be in Vacasa. And like I know Vacasa not even existent in our market, and they only have shit properties because everyone picked them off. But there's this one that was sitting there, and that was like, dude, I know this property has a lot of potential. And I reached out to them. They're great owners, poor owners that just got taken advantage of by Vacasa because they're the first fucking people that reached out to them when they were building their house and just went with them. And so bad where they have no infrastructure in place, where they had to like ask the owners to find a plumber. Like it's crazy. And one of the owners, the sons, lives like 50 minutes away or something, and he had to drive all the way up to take care of the property. It's just nuts. As a property manager, paying 25% and then still having to deal with that, it just blew my mind. So I was like, listen, we'll do 25 and then we'll also handle everything for you. And on top of that, we'll get better pictures, we'll get better everything and make you more money. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're adding, there's a lot more bookings, and they did $0 in the top month of the year. The best month of the year, they did $0. It's
That's
crazy to me.
insane.
And
That makes
now
no
they're making
sense.
money in off season. It's like the worst time of the year we're making them money. So imagine like the best time of the year. Now it's gonna be easily a 10,000 plus month for them, which is crazy. So imagine $10,000 just leaving on the table just because you're with a shit manager. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's
You got to
insane.
shift the perspective of we're actually helping these people.
100%. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. These people are in pain. They need somebody to come in, hold their hand, and get them out of this painful situation
Absolutely.
that they're currently in. It's not sales at the end of the day. People think sales is the scary thing, but in reality, you need to
Mm.
they need you. Like you're adding value to them. If you don't do your job, you're not doing your job if you don't help them get out of their current situation.
Yep.
That's how
You're
you need to
not,
see it.
it's like, it's the thing where it's like you have a kid and veggies are good for them, and it's going to be, and they don't think veggies are good for them. Sometimes you have to do that little push, be like,
Hmm.
trust me, this is the solution for you. Trust me, these veggies are good for you. Trust me, we can take care of this property, make you more money. Just like that's when you have that much conviction, when you have a whole portfolio and you know exactly that property was doing $0 in April. I get
Hmm.
so eager to like no matter what objections they have, I know those are limiting beliefs and I know that they can make money with this property and I can give them that. And so with that kind of conviction, you become really good at sales because you're gonna keep following up. You're gonna be like you're gonna make guarantees, you're gonna make really good offers, which we could talk about offers. Maybe let's transition to that. Let's say we found the property, and we want to position ourselves and how do we want to structure the deal. And should we host it listed with our own? Should we do co-host? Should we do 30-day contracts, month to month? Or should we do 2-year contracts? Like, how do you go about positioning yourself to a client, potential client?
Yeah, man. For me, I signed 2-year agreements, but I have given them the ability to leave after like 30 days because like my whole thing is, dude, like I don't want to work with anybody that doesn't
Right.
want to work with me, and vice versa too. If I don't want to work with them, I don't want to have to work with them. And the thing with like management clients is they're sticky. They usually don't leave unless you screw up. As long as you're not screwing up, they're not going anywhere. And then the 2-year thing is just because of the fact that I don't want to have to send out like an agreement every year. It's just easier to do it that way for me. And then with like signing, I'll give everybody like a little sauce that like I use. Everybody here's 20% is like the management fee, right? Across like the US, everybody wants to charge 20%. And 20% is great. That's where I like to be at. But what happens is some people will shop around and they'll just be like, hey, look, I'll do it
Mm.
for 12% for you, blah, 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 because they just want to be a co-host, right? And they want to make any money. So they're just like, screw it. I'm just going to offer the cheapest amount. Usually what I'll say to an owner is just be like, hey, look, like they want to do it for 12%. Like I'm at 20%. Like in reality, you get what you pay for at the end of the day. But here's what I'm willing to do for you, John. John, I like you. So what I'll do for you is for the first 90 days is I'll bring my rate down to 15% for you. And then after 90 days of working with me, if you're happy, then we'll bring it back to the 20% nominal fee. Does that work for you? And they were like, oh, damn, you're really going to do that for me? You're like, yes. And what happens is like majority of the people, whenever they're like, oh, I'll match that 12% or I'll do 15%, but they never put like a time frame. So they're stuck at 15% for a whole year. Like you don't want to do that. Like just do a short 3-month time frame. It adds value, shows them that you're helping them out, and then
Yeah.
you're back to your 20%,
I love
right?
that. And
Instead of getting
sometimes when people
stuck.
negotiate down, trying to negotiate, because we're at 25, but when someone tries to negotiate to 20%, we just tell them, listen, we'll do
Hmm.
20% for the first 6 months, and then after that, we'll do 25. Because I think people really, I don't know, people really want to be like, okay, we're gearing it up. It's not going to, the thing is, when you gear a property up, it doesn't make as much money as it does after the first 6 months, anyways. So you're getting 20%, you're getting a lower percentage of a
Hmm.
lower pie. So it's like whatever. But then once the start makes the big bucks, then you're lock them in a contract. And yeah, that makes sense. Like after 6 months, they could say, listen, like it's not working out and they can leave. So I like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. So
Yeah.
tell me, man, where are you at right now with your portfolio slash where are you looking ahead with that?
Yeah, dude. So like right now, like I own one long-term rental and I own 3 short-term rentals now. I had 4 short-term rentals I owned. And I ended up selling one in Fort Lauderdale because it was bad.
What
Bad
happened in
things
that
happened on that
property?
property. Dude, I had a lot of bad things with water happen. Like the house flooded one time,
I think,
drowning one
like, what do
time.
you
Like,
mean?
yeah, had like somebody drown in the pool, bro. Yeah, this was a while ago. Shut me down for 8 weeks in high season a couple years ago, and I just wasn't really making money. And then Yeah, and then Airbnb came out and an investigation said everything was fine, and then
Did
they
you
put it
get a
back on
lawsuit?
online.
Was what happened with that whole kid drowned? That's crazy.
Yeah, no lawsuit came out of it, thankfully. But yeah, no lawsuit came out of it. It was super sad.
That's crazy, man.
Um,
Dude, this business is
but
business
no,
is crazy. The things that could happen at the house is like people die. Parties getting thrown is the least of your worries when people can freaking kill themselves slash, there's like traumatic events that happen. I've heard people said that there was a rape at their property and it became a crime, like a huge crime investigation. It's just nuts, man. It's
you
just
heard that too.
that's Matt. Matt, I think it was Matt's thing.
Yeah, I
He
think
tops
it was Matt,
everybody's
bro.
story on craziest things to happen at your Airbnb, but this business is tough, man. And that's the other part of co-hosting is it's you do have to deal with some stressors. It's not just all fun and games and making money. It's still a lot of issues that come around with something like this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, dude. So that's pretty much where I'm at owning for the management at a point right now where I'm selling it off for the time being. So can't really talk about those numbers
Nice.
right now, but it's exciting. So that's what's going on. And then for the future for me, obviously I'm doing some coaching right now for how to acquire co-hosting clients and management clients. And the other thing that I'm looking into doing now is I really want to get into the small business game. I really want to acquire a small business in the near future, sometime by the end of this year or early next year. So I've been looking at those 1 to 2 million like market size and getting to go the SBA route, right? And try to even find something like off market owner financing. Because the thing is, I'm not in a rush right now, especially with the market conditions it is. It's just going to keep getting a little bit worse, I think, this year. So I'm not going to go out and try to find something like on market. Like if something comes on market, like it's great, but like I'm going to do some old school like
Nice.
mailers and postcards, see if I can find something like undervalued. But that's
That's awesome,
majority
man.
of what it looks like right
Well,
now.
I do want to get into the last three questions, close it off, and ask you a few things here, man. So, number one, what book or educational resource changed the game for you?
Yeah, man, I think it was Bigger
It's the
Pockets,
podcast
right? Bigger
or the forum?
Pockets helped me out a lot.
Podcast.
Yeah, the podcast. The bo the pod. I was on everything in the beginning. I was on the podcast. That's where I started. I would read the forums in Chicago. I even read David Green's book as well. Yeah, I was heavy in Bigger Pockets. I went to the Bigger Pockets meetup. Yeah, so that was a big one for me. And then I think just the basic one that everybody else reads is like
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
think yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, but
Yeah.
probably Rich Dad Poor
Cool,
Dad
man.
is the
And
most.
then, so with co-hosting, you mentioned that you are looking to potentially sell the co-hosting business, but let's say that you weren't going to sell the co-hosting business. Where what
Mhm.
w- would you rather have more properties that make less money, or would you rather have less properties that make more money? Would you rather scale to 100 units, or would you rather have 10 solid units and just live comfortably on that?
How much money is 100 units
You're gonna
making me,
make
and how
more with
much money is
100
the 10 units
units,
making me?
but you have less stress with the 10 units.
Okay. How? Okay, so kind of this is a difficult question because we don't know how much stress we're gonna have with 100 units, and we don't know how much more money the 10 units or the 100 units are gonna make too. But like for me personally, I'd go with the 10 units. Just because of the fact that, dude, like time is like the most important thing. Like once you reach like a certain amount of income, like the more income you make has like a diminishing effect on your actual life. So for example, say you're making 15K and then you're making 30K, like you're gonna be pretty much just slightly more happy at 30K than at 15K, right? So if those 10 units are making like 20K and then maybe the 100 units are making 50K, I'm good at like the 20K, just because of the fact that like that 100 units is most likely going to have a lot more stress,
There you go.
as you were saying. So,
That was a stab at me. No, I'm kidding. I think it's all lifestyle, right? Like how what kind of lifestyle you want to live. I really enjoy it, so I get it. Cool.
and you got those systems in
Yeah.
place too right now. Like it took you time to get those systems in place. So obviously it's not as much since you already, I know you have an operations manager and then you have a few other managers in
Yeah.
place too. So that definitely offsets it.
But the day to
But
day,
getting
yeah,
there
the day to day
is a
still
pain.
obviously I'm not that involved in the
Yeah.
day to day, but I still have to deal with the hardest of the hardest problems that come to me. Like that's still on the table, and that's not something you can't get out of unless you hire a CEO. So there's that. But last question, where can people find you if they have more questions or they want to follow you or anything of that nature?
Yeah, the best way to find me is Instagram. It's Austin, AUSTIN underscore Palacios, Palacios. Reach out to me there if you have any questions or if you need help growing your co-hosting business, management business from the ground up, and if you need help acquiring management.
Sounds good, man. And I appreciate it so much, dude. Thanks for hopping on the freaking call, man, and providing value. Appreciate it, dude. Until next time, man.
Of course, my man. Thanks again for having me.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the Patrick Real Estate Show. If you found this episode helpful, please give us a follow and leave us a 5-star review. Your support truly means a lot. And connect with Patrick in the show notes below. Until next time.